So I'm not going to say this quote the way Mr. Bilbo Baggins would say it, but when you watch this movie, it's at the very beginning. It's when Gandalf proposes this idea of an adventure. And Mr. Bilbo stands up and he says, "An adventure? No, I don't imagine anyone west of Bree would have much interest in adventures. Nasty, disturbing, uncomfortable things. Make you late for dinner. Good morning." And he just walks away. And that's how he's going to respond to this unknown adventure that's at his front doorstep.
Hey friends, welcome to the very first episode of Works in Progress. I'm Lucy, she, her. This series is all about asking one big question. What does it really look like to lead yourself? Each episode, you'll hear from young leaders and creators who are figuring it out in real time. Not perfect career paths, not highlight reels, just the messy, meaningful in-betweens. We're starting with Amanda Mulkey, a voice you'll recognize from Leadify. Amanda has this really deep connection to J.R.R. Tolkien's The Hobbit. And I've even pulled out my own well-loved copy. And that's because it's really helped her make sense of her own journey. She's actually the one that got me to watch the movies for the first time recently. And, the way that she sees Bilbo really changed how I see him too, as this reluctant adventurer who chooses courage anyway. And that perspective has really stayed with me, and I think it'll stay with you too. So, without further ado, here's Amanda's story. Let's start with something simple. Can you give us a quick intro, like American Idol style, like your name, your age, and where you're from?
I can. I'm Amanda Mulkey. I'm so glad to be here. I'm 33. I grew up in St. Louis. I live in the Denver area now. And growing up in the Midwest really shaped me. In the Midwest, you have a lot of diversity, a lot of challenges demographically, and you also have a lot of love and unity you don't find anywhere else. So those two things mixed have rooted me in my belief that there's always strength, there's always struggles, and there's beauty within all of that. So the Midwest just is the melting pot. We have it all.
I love that. I'm also a Midwest girly, so I always appreciate when I hear other people talk about it.
Me too.
And now for a question we'll ask everyone at the start. How would you describe yourself today? And I'm talking more about like your quirks, your obsessions, random opinions, passions, all the things.
I describe myself as a continuously imperfect human who is always seeking purpose and continuously reshaping my narrative through self-authorship, especially in a world I can't fully understand. I find peace in solitude and self-reflection, whether that's through prayer, research, or simply trying to understand more deeply what I don't know. And that's how I would describe me.
Beautiful. Thank you for sharing that. And with that in mind, let's go ahead and move into your story. I don't know anyone who loves The Hobbit as much as you do. I think it's almost an understatement to say that it's been this big inspiration in your life. And we know that Bilbo Baggins is the reluctant adventurer at the heart of that story. What about his journey connects with you, and how do you see yourself in it?
I love that question. And you're right. I'm a huge Hobbit fan. I've even named my dog Smeagol. Mr. Bilbo Baggins is one of the most courageous, authentic, inspiring, impactful characters of anything I've ever watched, read. The reason for that is he finds courage in the most random places. He's willing to find courage. He's willing to experience it. And that really deeply connected to me in my 20s. In your 20s, you are so lost. You are trying to become what you're supposed to become forever. You're trying to figure out love. Every breakup I went through, The Hobbit was on. That's how people know I probably did get broken up with, or I broke up with somebody. The Hobbit on, and you have some alcohol or some pizza. So it allowed me to feel safe when I watched that if this wonderful character, even though it may be fictional, is able to go on this journey and fight this Smaug, he has versions of Smaug along the way. And it's those little moments that I think I can relate to in life, that you have this unexpected, uncontrollable incident in your life. And it could be a conversation, right? That could be, or it could be a some tragedy that happened or just something simple that you just don't understand because you're in your 20s and you're still trying to figure everything out and it's a lot. And you just keep pushing forward. And if you get that Smaug and he gets bigger and bigger, you have finals week and you're like, oh my gosh, that's a Smaug, right? It has you so mentally drained. You're not thinking, you're not wanting to go do anything. So for me, it was like that sense of peace and grounding when I watched this movie because it allowed me to be still for a moment, be with myself for a moment, see myself through a character who I just admire immensely because of that courage that I seek inside so deeply and so much. And my Smog got handed to me in many different variations, but one lasted a very long time and is still lasting today. And navigating that has looked different through every single phase that I've gone through. And I think that that's a perfect representation of how The Hobbit is.
Yeah, I love that. And I love how you are kind of talking about this character, the Smaug, right? And so we know that that's the dragon who guards the treasure and he kind of threatens everything in the Hobbit story. And I'm curious, like in your own life, what has Smaug represented and maybe how have you learned to face him?
Yeah. When you watch the movie, and I would encourage you to, watch when Smaug enters into the lives of people who unexpectedly had him be present. He took peace, he took stability, he took a way of living. So when Smaug takes all of this, when you watch it and you see these people in such horror and tragedy, I think everybody could relate to that. If your sense of safety, your sense of peace, your sense of being or living is jeopardized or hindered in any way out of your control, that feeling that comes with that is so real.
Mhm.
And as you can tell, it is very difficult to talk about. Who wants to talk about that? Who wants to talk about their Smog? Nobody. And I'm going to be vulnerable because I encourage everybody to be vulnerable in this. And I think it's really important that you have courage. When you watch this movie, you see Smog do that. A lot of people had to rebuild and their narrative had to change on where they lived and what they did for a living and just everything, everything. Smog came to me in the form of a diagnosis when I was just 24. I was finishing up my degree. I studied abroad. I recently just came back. I had an internship there that I couldn't have wished for anything more of an experience than what I experienced. And I came home and my reality really shifted. So when I came home from studying abroad, I had my first seizure. I've never had a seizure before. I had no idea what it was. And I just remember being supported by people who also had no idea what was going on, but they found the courage to be there for me. And to this day, it means the world to me because that moment was the first moment that my whole life changed. So all these wonderful people supporting me, these EMS people came in, they took great care of me. And what came out of my mouth was actually quoted by The Hobbit. I was like, no, this is not what it means to me. This isn't me. This isn't going to happen. I had clients at my desk. I just came back from studying abroad. Like, this was just not my narrative. This was not what was supposed to happen. And I remember just feeling like I needed to get that out. And I just needed to get out of there. And I ended up at the hospital, my first hospital visit, and I was surrounded by multiple specialists, I think 5 or 6 neurologists. The EMS waited for my family to get there. I was quarantined for a brief moment because I still had no idea. And in the end, that moment in time turned into years of time of trying to figure out the best way for the doctors to defeat my Smog. They didn't even know how. So how could I have possibly known? Right. And fast forward a few years, I was placed in a position where I had no choice but to have surgery. And the same surgeon that told me it wasn't possible, we were on this 4-year battle at this point, told me we have to. We have to. So I went in for surgery with everybody I loved. I was asked to do a directive. I was only 26 and it was horrible. My whole journey there was not anything but easy. I went through 47 neurologists within just a few years. I was at multiple hospitals. I didn't feel like I could connect with these people. They weren't experiencing what I was. That's how I felt. Come to find out, they're just human too. They're just trying to do the best that they can. So I successfully had that surgery, and saying goodbye to my family wasn't goodbye. It was, guess what? I'm feeling better. I am ready to go skydiving. In fact, I did.
Wow.
So I had a rare tumor in my spinal cord, and the doctors at Barnes Jewish Hospital and St. Louis University had an award for that. And just, I thank them every day for saving my life, allowing me to finish college, allowing me to meet all the milestones that I've gotten to do. And I lived so well. I had so much fun. I did all the things I wanted to do. And that's how life is those moments where you're going to defeat him, or he may be there, or you might get close to defeating him. But the unknown is still always going to be there. Fast forward, I'm living my life. I'm having so much fun. I am succeeding. I'm just, this was my purpose, right? I found it and I get to enjoy it now. And then COVID happened and the whole world experienced that. That was a horrible time for the world, right? But we all learned how to adapt through that. And we still learn today from that. But it presented an opportunity for me to move to Denver, Colorado. And I took that opportunity. And going on my 5th year living here has been the best thing that's ever happened to me. It's been the greatest journey. I met my best friend. So you have all these positive things, right? Smaug was actually present again in a different way through all that beauty. He presented himself after I moved here, away from all my friends, all my family, away from everything. I took the chance, right? I had this new sense of life. And I found out that I had another rare diagnosis, and it took a lot to get it. I was at many hospitals, Cleveland Clinic, multiple universities, and I was told there was nothing anybody could do. I was losing consciousness. It was horrible. There's Smaug again, and he's in a different form, and he's a hell of a lot bigger. He's bigger, and now I don't know what I'm supposed to do. So I decided, what am I willing to do when I'm not willing to do to fight Smaug? I'm willing to fight Smaug and get everything I have again. Why? Because this life is worth living. Okay, what does that look like? It looked different every day. Every day. Whether it was that I had to get up and get ready and go into my job and do everything I could to just be present and not lose consciousness that I also could not control because of this tumor. And it progressively got worse. I wrote a case study to the Medical University of South Carolina, begging them to just take a chance on me. I saw their research and I just knew, like, I'm your girl. Like, I will, you give me a chance to live life, I'll live it. Just give me the chance. So this brain tumor started to kind of take my value of life away and started to shut down my body. And it was a really scary time. And so Smaug was taking over and it was harder for me to battle him this time. But the surgeons accepted to do this surgery. And I was in South Carolina for a few months recovering. But I'm here now and I'm so grateful. And I don't have a pineal gland anymore. It's really rare to not have that. So this recovery, this Smaug is still present, but he looks different. He's not as scary. Like, I beat you a few times, so you know. And now here today, I have 2 active tumors and there's nothing they can do about it, but I'm okay with that. It's okay because I know that I have given everything I have to fight Smaug, and I have to decide, is Smaug going to control my life and control the trajectory that I'm on and take the energy of happiness away from me? Or is it going to empower me and I'm going to live my life the best I can and have the most fun? And that's what I do every day. Smaug kind of presents himself bigger each day. Sometimes he's really small and he's a cute little pet and it's okay that you're there, but don't bother me today. But nobody's promised tomorrow. That's the thing. It can be taken in any form. Your life can be taken, your safety, your health. Things can be taken from you, but are they taken? You get to decide what it is you do as Smaug. You get to decide. Nobody else. I don't know. It's a really sad time in our nation right now. It's a sad time for the world. It's a sad time for human beings in this world, and everybody has a Smaug. We need to know how difficult it is to battle Smaug. And every day that someone battles it, that's a win for them. Our support should be around that. It shouldn't be around judging the way that they battled it or the way they're battling it. It should be that they have the courage every day to fight it. Wow. That to me is the most admirable thing about every human that is battling something in this world, because everybody is battling something. And everybody has Smaug. Everybody. It just looks different. And someone's perspective of your Smaug means only what you allow it to mean. I can have people tell me that I need to go and get Smaug taken care of. I know the truth. I know the battle of the Smaug, and I know what I'm willing to do and what I'm not willing to do. And I think that's applicable to anything in life. Someone else's perspective should never make you feel like that has to be yours of something you're battling. You're battling it. You're the one that gets to decide. No one else. Nobody else. So that's what I have to say.
That's so good. That's so powerful. And I think you kind of started to speak to it a little bit, but I'm curious, like in those moments when it really felt like Smaug had all the power and it just he felt so big, like what really helped you take it back? I know you talked a little bit about like this idea of a narrative. What does self-authorship mean to you now, like as your journey keeps unfolding at this stage?
Yeah, I love that. Your narrative of what you do next is 100% controlled by you. And it's always this question, what am I willing to do next? And what am I not willing to do next? And that creates that path of self-authorship for anything you're facing in life, because you're the narrator of your own story. It's not an event in your life that's narrating your story. It's not a person in your life that you either love or you're getting to know, or that's a part of your story, but it's not your story, and they're not the narrator. You are. The only person that is the narrator of your story is yourself. But if you just stick on this path and remind yourself, I actually do have a choice of what I do next, how I respond. And I think that that is such a profound stance to take with yourself. This person feels this way. It's important they feel this way. They have this perspective. Would I allow it to do and have a place in my life and my story because I'm my narrator? That is completely and 100% up to me. It is not up to anybody else. I know that life is hard and you feel alone sometimes, and sometimes you are. The reality and brutal truth is you are alone. You're alone in the battle that only you can understand in the way that you can understand it. That doesn't mean that the people around you don't want to be there for you and try to lift you up. They may not know how, and how could you possibly know how at times? And it's okay if nobody knows how, but you're just there. And I just want people to know, like, when Smaug feels too big, maybe he is in that moment, and it's okay to say that he's too big to fight right now. And it's okay to take a pause. You may come back to the battle, but you may come back differently, and that's also okay. When you watch the movies, Smaug took a whole city, a whole life away from so many people. And I believe that is the same in life. When something happens to one person, it happens to all of us. And it can look different for us, but it took something away from you too. Maybe not the magnitude of your neighbor or somebody else, but that is still impactful and it still matters. So I just hope if you know somebody that's going through Smaug and you don't know how to be there, just own that. I don't know how to be here, but I want to be here. And I want you to know I love you. Sometimes that's all that's needed. Just notice their Smaug. And that can bring just that 1 ounce of hope or courage that they needed to defeat it. So anything, even when you don't know, just own that you don't know. It's okay that you don't know. But just show up and recognize their Smaug, because it will help the courage of defeating it.
I really appreciate you sharing all that, Amanda. I imagine it can't be easy, and I just sincerely admire your bravery and your vulnerability in this space. And I love every time we get to have a conversation like this, because I feel like I get so much out of it. You inspire me so much, and I'm so glad that we crossed paths and that we can share this to more than just me, that it can live in a different space where it can reach all different kinds of people. And I am curious, thinking about kind of this next season of your life where you say, like, Smog is still present, but sometimes he's big, sometimes he's really small, and all those different things. Like, what is something maybe that you're giving yourself permission to explore?
I love this question. I was so afraid that I couldn't give my partner forever, but my forever may look different. And I'm all in with this. I love this person I found this person, and I'm not going to let Smug take that and instill fear that I can't provide that for him, no matter what duration of time it looks like. Maybe it is until I'm 103, and maybe I'm on the next newspaper of the oldest woman alive. I have no idea. So I am going to marry my best friend next week, and I am so grateful for that, because even though Smaug is present right now, and I know there's nothing I can do from a medical standpoint, I know that every day I get to battle him in different ways, because each day presents a new thing for me. I'm going to give it everything I have. It may look different, and it sure does, but that's okay, because I am okay with that, and I'm okay with the unknown. I'm going to talk to the people I enjoy talking to. I'm going to say that I love yous, and I'm not going to have any regrets. Now, it may be difficult. It might look different than what I imagined in this different world where Smaug didn't exist, but he does exist. And so it doesn't really matter. This fantasy world of him not being present. He's here, and he's here to stay. So I'm here to battle him the whole way through, and I'm just going to own it. I'm going to have fun, and I'm going to love my life, and I'm going to enjoy it, and I'm going to be honest to my loved ones when I'm having a bad day and I need some support. Even when I don't know what support I'm needing, maybe I'm just going to say, hey, I kind of need a hug today. Or, hey, you know what? I'm really in my head today about this, and it's really getting to me. It's hard for me to push through today. I'm going to own that, and I'm going to live in that space, and it's okay too. And that's what I'm going to do.
Amanda, thank you for sharing so openly. And to everyone listening, I hope Amanda's story encourages you to think about your own dragons. And remember, it's you, not Smaug, who gets to write the next page. Here's to all of us, works in progress on purpose.